Hey guys, it's Dylan. Sorry for the poor lighting in my background. Changed to a darker thing. This video is going to be about magic and why I am not a big fan of it. Now, I don't want it to sound like I don't like magic as a whole, or I don't like seeing magic, I don't like performing magic, because that's not true. What I don't like about magic is the marketplace. And what I mean by that is the fact that there are so many different videos and magicians out there that try to be original when in reality it doesn't matter. Because magicians are not trying to sell tricks that will fool spectators, the people watching the show. Magicians try to sell magic tricks that will fool the magician. Well, yeah, if it fools the magician, of course it'll fool the spectator, but the problem is the fact that you kind of miss something, because there's so much happening that the magician isn't aware about. So when he does figure it out, it's either going to be one of those, why didn't I think of that? Or this is way simpler than I thought. But the main thing that bothers me is the fact that 9 times out of 10, when you're trying to fool a magician, you're doing things so out of place that you don't need to do, really. Like, there are so many different cuts. There's things what's called a pass, which is invisibly cutting the deck of cards while your hands are being burned, while someone is staring at your hands, I mean. And with stuff like that, it's not necessary. I'm not sure how well this will work. I'm gonna try to move my camera down. Nope, I'm gonna have to re-angle it all together. Bear with me here. Alright. So pretty much, what the pass is, if you're able to cut the cards, and cannot do it apparently. You're able to cut the cards and nobody really realize you're doing it. Of course, you know, we'd say have the ace of hearts on top. We can cut the cards, the ace of hearts going into the middle of the pack, and the ace of hearts comes straight back up. I personally prefer the what's called the Herman pass, where you're able to actually take the card. It doesn't seem like anything's happening to me, anyway. It's very hard for me to do it at this slow. I'm gonna stand up. I mean, of course, you know, you're supposed to have some kind of cover, like rippling up the back of the cards. Doesn't really help me. It just, you know, it'd be nice if I didn't steal the card. My god. My hands are not cooperating with me. So here, I'll show you the pass one more time. And it's something really simple. You're literally just taking the pack and putting it underneath. It's more about sheer speed. And sometimes, you know, you're doing it in the act of squaring up the cards. My processor is running low, and I have so many tabs open, just of different things, videos, card parts, just random stuff. Anyway, back to my entire point of this. It's just the fact that, you know, the pass was made to not fool laymen, not to fool the spectators, but I'm pretty sure the pass was made to fool magicians. Because if you're not aware that the cards are being cut, then, you know, of course you're going to be fooled by it. But, you know, with lay people, you don't have to do that much. I mean, you can literally take the pack of cards and cut it, and people won't really be aware of what's happening. So they have what's called a double undercut. You're able to take cards, and you cut the cards up, and you still have the ace on top, cutting cards, cutting them up again, and the ace is still on top. However, it's just, in my head, why not just take the cards, cut them again? I mean, essentially, you're doing the same thing. It's just, why change it? And there's plenty of different forces out there where you're forcing a card to where you're forcing the card that's on the top of the deck, like saying stop wherever you like, say it's there, and having it be the card that's supposed to be on top, could place into the middle, do the pass, have it be on top. Or, you know, saying that it's in the middle, and you know it will cut it deeper into the deck, and just cutting it straight on top. That's a lot easier in my head than not. To where, in reality, you shouldn't do a trick where you force a card. Some tricks are more amazing because they use gimmick cards in which you have to force a card. I personally, if I could avoid forcing a card at all, I would much prefer to, you know, have a card be signed. I personally would much rather do an entire routine using only one card that somebody picked out. But anyway, saying taking the card, and you know it here, let's cut it deeper into the pack, and you're cutting it on top, or say on the bottom, however you wish. Why not just do that instead of taking a card and saying, okay, so keep it into the middle of the pack and passing it to the top? You're just, it's not necessary for spectators. When you're trying to fool spectators, I mean, yes, people are smart, but you don't have to do too much in order to fool them. Unless, you know, they're super smart and they're able to reconstruct, oh, you just cut the cards, and then you cut the cards again, oh, you must have cut it back to the top. Well, they don't know about that yet. I mean, in reality, there should only be one way to do anything, because that way must be I cannot palm a card in my hand at all. That way must be a tried and true method in order to fool anyone. Because how many color changes do you need, really? Like I think it's called the Erdnase color change. I don't know what kind of color change it is. Where you're able to take the card and just give it a little rub and have it change. Now, of course, you know, there's a lot more cinematic you can do to make it more magical. But in reality, you don't need to have 20 different kinds of color changes to where, oh, here, we'll take the Two of Hearts and have it change, or, you know, taking, you know, the Ace of Hearts, and here you don't see the change, but when you flip it, or you do something as simple as that, the top change, to where you have the Ace of Hearts. Of course, you can't really do it on camera because it's kind of obvious that you're seeing what the hell it is. But, you know, having many different kinds of top changes, you know, like, oh, here we have the Ace of Hearts, and then you do, I'm pretty sure it's called the Shapeshifter, to where you take it and you just wave it and it changes to the Two of Hearts, or that one, and it changes back to the Ace of Hearts. It's just, it's redundant. Why have that many color changes in your arsenal? Why not have one and stick to one? Because, you know, a lot of people, if they can figure out one thing, they can probably figure out the next thing. And in my head, it's just like, why bother having more than one thing? If it works for a few people, why wouldn't it work for everyone? Some people may have a little bit more knowledge in it, yes, but in reality, it's not going to be too much different. It's just going to be a waste of time learning, because in reality, how much of it do you really need? So something that annoys me is the fact that it's just, I've said it before, I'm going to say it probably 1,000 times before the end of this video, because when I rant, I just say the same thing over and over again. It's just, we try to sell to magicians the ad copy that magicians see. It's by magicians for magicians. So it's like, oh, no memorization needed. no strings, no thread, no stack, and it's just okay. So that's just why bother with it? All right. Like, I understand that the magician wants to make sure he knows what he's getting. The magician wants to make sure that he's getting what he pays for. But I mean, I'm screwing with this deck over and over and over again. And if any of you are actually paying attention, I'm not really doing much to it. I mean, I can take the cards and say, cut there, cut there, cut there, cut there. All right, cool. Yeah, the cards seem, you know, thoroughly shuffled, right? No, not at all. It's all just a big waste of time. Because in reality, I'm not screwing with the cards. And no matter how many different ways I cut the card, a lot of people would say, oh yeah, he's messing with the cards. He's messing up the order. He's cutting the cards. So, like, I understand having something different for variety, so that I'm not doing the same thing over and over and over again. You know, cutting it 3 times, placing 3 packets onto the table over and over and over again, instead of, you know, oh, just doing 1, cutting it down. You know, here, let's cut it, bring it to the top. Okay, I understand variety. I get that. But if you're performing for the same person, of course you're going to want variety. You don't want them seeing the same thing over and over again, or else they will catch on to it. But if you're performing a color change numerous times to the same person, that color change is going to get boring at that point. So that's why, you know, just cutting it over and over and over again and producing nothing as a result gets boring after a while. I mean, if you were to do anything and not want to change the deck of cards, then do an entire routine. You don't have to be able to, you know, just cut the cards perfectly in order to fool people. If you're going to want to truly fool people, yeah, learn an entire thing. But don't make it obvious that you're doing something special. Don't be like, okay, so now we're going to do this. Well, yeah, of course people know that you're going to do that. You don't really need to explain it like, oh, I'm going to cut the cards now. Well, of course you're going to cut the cards. Typically after you shuffle, you cut the cards. When you're playing poker anyway. Like, okay, now I'm going to cut the cards. Okay, so why do you need to choreograph it? Like, oh, here, we'll place pile 1 here, pile 2 here, pile 3, and pile 4. Yeah, I understand speaking, but do you really need to explain yourself? Not really. A lot of magicians overdo it. Beginner magicians, I mean. Not ones that have been doing it a while and they know what they're doing. More beginner magicians are just trying, okay, so now we'll cut the cards. Okay, so you don't need to say it, because people are watching. So like, okay, here, we'll cut the cards. That's a lot better than saying, okay, we'll cut the cards is a lot better than saying 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, here, let's cut the cards, you know, a couple more times and keep cutting, and that's a lot. You don't need to oversell it. Saying, okay, we'll cut the cards, I don't know, I'm on both sides of the fence, apparently. I don't know how to choose one side. Do not drop the cards. But saying, okay, so now we're going to find your card. And they can see you screwing with the deck. So, of course, they can see you're cutting the cards. But if you say, you know, so here, we'll find your cards, and, you know, here, I'll give the cards a few more cuts. They're going to think that cutting cards may have something to do with it. Because there's a lot of people I know out there that don't watch Magic for the sake of watching magic. They watch magic to figure out what is going on. And if they can figure out what's going on, then, you know, they're going to try to bust you on it. And you don't want them busting on it. Like, the other people that are actually trying to enjoy the magic don't want them to bust you on it. So it's just, it's annoying in all reality. You just, when you're choreographing something, you're choreographing it. Yes, that doesn't make sense, I'm aware. When you're telling people that, okay, here, we'll cut the cards, you're letting them know when something's happened. See, yeah, there could be something in saying, oh, here, we'll turn over the top card. That's one thing, but saying, turn over the top card, that's not your card, is it? No. Well, of course it's not their card, but you don't need to tell them about it. Like having a card picked out, randomly, out of the middle. Okay, the 5 of clubs. But having them place it back into the deck, and saying, you know what, here, let's cut the cards deeper into the deck, and I'll never be able to find your card, no one will be able to track your card. Well, you're overselling it. If you could instead take the card and be like, here, just tell me when to stop. There, perfect. And have it be put back. And that's it. You know, yeah, you could probably screw with the cards a bit if you like, but, you know, just saying, here, tell me when to stop, and you put the cards back. Alright, I mean, I already know what card it is, but say, I looked through the deck and I picked out a card. I didn't need to know what card it is in order to find that card, because tell me when to stop, you would use what's called a peek, and to where you're able to see a card, whether it be this card or the card that you're stopping at. But of course, you know, you'd only, going back to the start of this, you'd only need to have only one of those, and whether it be obvious or subtle, to where, you know, there's no way I could figure out what card it is. It's just, you only need one, and I know there are a lot of people out there who try to learn, you know, several different of them, or many of them, and I have been a victim to that, and I eventually figured out why. Because, you know, I've learned many different forces, so we'll use the 5. I've already showed you the riffle force, where you stop at a predetermined card, and, you know, it's the card that you want them to have. Or you take the card, and you have it be underneath anything, they touch any card they like, say it's this one, and you force the 5 that way. What's another one? I know. The slip cut, to where you stop where they want you to. And then one that seems like a free choice, you know, they cut the cards. Like, okay, here, we'll mark where you cut. Alright, so now we know where you cut, and in a second we're going to take a look at it, and it's still the same card. It's just, there's many different ways of forcing a card, but I've never found myself doing a different force than I normally do, except when the trick calls for it, and that's, you know, only really when you're trying to hide something. And if you're not trying to hide something, why bother? Why not just do the same kind of force? Take it, you know, here. Let's take a look at it. Okay, the 5, and like you know what the card it is, and in some tricks you're going to figure out what card it is anyway, and you tell them that. You start off, okay, you know what, here, it's not that kind of trick, I'll take a look at it too, and then you know what card it is. Some people are going to think that's weird, like, what the hell, he's looking at my card, that's not normal. But yet, you know, there's sometimes where, you know, afterwards, like, oh, I don't want to see it. Well, you already looked at it, so if anything, you're going to be doing a different kind of trick. Like, because I know there are some times where you have spectators sign them, and then you perform a different card. You perform a card trick, and you know you show the top card, and it's a completely different card. It's like, is that your card? Well, no, of course it's not. The signature's not on it. And, you know, yeah, you kind of want them to realize that, but you don't, you know, turn it over and be like, oh, is that your card? Oh, wait, no, it's, you just, is that your card? If they say no, fine. If you want to be that person to kind of spell it out for them, and, you know, and your card comes to the top, and, wait, no, that's not your card because it doesn't have your signature on it. Okay, that's fine, but, you know, if you're trying to oversell it, oh, your card jumped to the top. Oh, is that your card? Is it? Then you're overselling it is not always a good thing. So if you were to do something like that, you know, with a signed card, snap, and it jumps up to the top, wait for them to say something. Just be silent. Wait for them to say something. If they don't, say, is that your card? That's all you really need to say. 9 times out of 10, they'll say, no, it's not. So if, you know, that's not your card, oh, okay, and then you can either do some kind of color change, or you can, you know, put it back into the deck and do whatever kind of routine that you're going to. I know that there is one type of vanish called the rub-a-dub vanish, I think, to where you take the card and you rub it away. It's kind of weird. I don't normally, I normally wouldn't do that type of vanish. I know that there is some kind of invisible palm technique to where you're taking the card, and of course, you know, you have it in your hand. Normally you would show that so that, you know, when you do the actual invisible palm, people have no idea what the hell just happened. But all of this just relates back to the fact of, like, you know, why have 20 different types of things in your arsenal when it's really the same trick? Like, that's why I've never really gotten into mentalism. Like, yes, I understand mentalism. I want to get into mentalism, but for the same reason, for the same reason, I can't get into it. Because it's literally the same effect over and over and over again. Because it's just like, oh, write this down. Okay, now, is it this? Okay, cool. Here, we'll do something different. Is it this? You're doing the same effect, just different ways. So unless you can actually up it more and more, then that's different. Like say, you know, having a card chosen. You know, you were to have a card chosen, you either force it or you use some form of peek in order to figure out what card it is. And then, you know, you move on. You either move on or you reveal it right away, whatever. Like, oh, is it the, here, think about the color. Wait, no, there's not a color. I'm just going over it fast. Most of the time you would want to slow it down. Think about the color. No, wait, hold on, there is no color, is there? Because, you know, black isn't a color. You know, you should, in reality of mentalism, you should reveal it slowly, like that. You don't be like, here, think of the card. Are you thinking of the 5 of clubs? Well, 1 out of 52, you can't have gotten it that easily unless you know what the card is. If you want to perform mentalism for what it's supposed to feel like, you would do it slowly, piece by piece. I want you to think about the number. It kind of has a curl on it, but it's also straight. I'm thinking it's somewhere near like the 5, the 2, the 5. And you have it, you pull it off something like that. Like, you start off with a card, and you bring up something else. You know what, here, let's try something different. And then you take out an impression device or some other peek device to where they write down something, let's say their name. And, you know, you take it back, you put it away, and you have no idea how it is, and then you start to, again, seemingly read their mind. You know, I'm getting some kind of E in there. Is there an E? Yeah? Okay. You know, it's kind of yelling at me. I'm thinking there's two. Is there two E's? Yeah? Okay, cool. It wouldn't be, like, it's not me. Something like that. It's Jeremy, I'm thinking. It's, you know, just presenting it different ways like that. Hold on. Let me just... And it's just the fact that it's something that a lot of people can get behind, and I personally can't. Shh, I told you this already. So, so unless you're going to do a full-on mentalism routine, something like that, like, you're going to have to up it, and I've yet to truly figure out how to routine my tricks. So, it's the fact that I can't up it like that in reality. So, let's say next from the peak device being able to tell what their name is, I personally have an app called Cypher that I got off of illusionist.com for about, I think, $25. And, you know, instead of using something old-fashioned pen and paper, it could leave traces on the paper, which, you know, in theory, that could have been how I did it. You know, here, let's do something that everyone uses and pull up a calculator. And, you know, they would type in numbers. There'd be no way for me to figure it out. Granted, they actually know what the hell they're doing. There have been several times where the person has no idea what they're doing, and which fucked up the entire thing. So I kind of have to monitor them, which is not really a good thing. So, so they end up doing it, you know, here at the very end, press square. Now there's no way I can even reverse engineer it, and I'd be able to reveal their age, their birthday, their zodiac sign, pretty much just any kind of 4-digit number. I typically like to do you lock your phone with a pin? And at that point, once I'm able to figure out what that's gonna get distracting. Once I'm able to figure out what the pin is, I'm like, here, let me see your phone. Cause, like, you know, I just ask them, do you lock your phone with a pin? Yeah, cool, okay, type it in. Let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Because that's typically what when I'm screwing around with the app, that's what I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, just to see how everything goes. And then it's the fact that, you know, okay, so I reveal I reveal the zodiac sign if they know what their zodiac sign is. If not, then I just go straight into the month, you know, or I'll say something like, you know, you kind of look like you're somewhere around 16. Like, if you get it off, that's okay as long as you're getting close, because you don't want to seem like you know it, period. You want to make it seem like you're right there. You're just a little off, but you're right there. Shh. I should really mute my phone. So it's just it's kind of a weird thing. So once you get their age down, you can be like, you know, here, like, you may even mention about Zodiac for anyone that actually knows Zodiac. You'd be like, you know, you kind of seem like a Sagittarius to me. You don't have to be born in the November, December type area, do you? And they'll be like, yeah, it's kind of weird. So then you're able to slowly zero in on it from there, and you're not doing anything like fishing because you know what it is. You're just trying to get the yeses, which is the entire point behind mentalism. It's to be. Why is my camera freaking out? It's like zooming in and out, like it can't focus. You know, it's at 28 minutes. I've been rambling on enough. A little bit lower. Alright, so that's just my take on the entire thing. It's just, magic is sold to magicians. It's not sold to full spectators. It's sold to magicians, and that's just what annoys me about the magic market, period. I apologize that this entire rant went like 7 different ways and took 29 minutes and 15 seconds. So anyway, I hope you guys weren't nauseated by the terrible camera, and I hope you guys liked this. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. It does really matter to me, and I will see you guys next time.